Two numbers are said to be reciprocals of each other if their product is 1. To find the reciprocal of a number, we write the number in fraction form and then invert the fraction. Essentially, you switch the numerator and denominator. So in example A, 2/3, its reciprocal is 3/2. We simply invert the fraction. We switch numerator and denominator. In this example, -1/4, we would switch the numerator and denominator to get -4/1, which we could then simplify as just -4. And then 7, think of that as 7/1. We can get the reciprocal by flipping it 1/7. To divide fractions, we essentially convert it to multiplication. We're going to keep the first fraction the same, change division to multiplication, and multiply by the reciprocal of the second fraction. And keep in mind that once we change it to multiplication, it can be helpful to reduce before we multiply. Just be careful that you do not reduce when dividing. We can't do that. We have to change it to multiplication first, then reduce if possible. For example, we have 1/2 divided by 1/4. We're going to keep the first fraction the same, change the division to multiplication, and then we will get the reciprocal of the second fraction, which means we invert the numerator and denominator, or flip the fraction. A common phrase that you may hear me say is we keep, change, flip. Keep the first fraction the same, change to multiplication, and then flip the second fraction. Now that we've converted it to multiplication, we can reduce before we multiply. 2 and 4 have a GCF of 2, so we'll divide each of those by the GCF. 2 divided by 2 is 1, and 4 divided by 2 is 2. We now have multiplication. 1 times 2 is 2. 1 times 1 is 1. And then simplifying this, 2 divided by 1 is 2. Up next, we have division of fractions. The shortcut is to keep, change, flip. Keep the first fraction the same, change to multiplication, and then flip the second fraction. We want the reciprocal of the second fraction. Now let's see if we can go through and simplify anything. Looking at the 3 and the 27, their GCF is 3, which means we can reduce that fraction before we multiply. 3 will divide into itself 1 time, and 3 will divide into 27 9 times. Looking at the 25 and 40, their GCF is 5. So we'll divide each of those by 5. 25 divided by 5 is 5. And then 40 divided by the GCF of 5 is 8. Now we have multiplication. 1 times 8 is 8. Divided by 5 times 9 is 45. Then look at the signs. We have a negative times a positive, which is a negative. So our final quotient, since we're actually doing division initially, is -8/45. In part C, we have -5/6 divided by -10/1. I'm going to write that as a fraction so that we can see the flip a little easier. So I'm just rewriting -10 as -10/1. And now we keep, change to multiplication, and flip the fraction. Now that it's multiplication, we can reduce. 5 and 10 have a 5 in common. So we'll reduce there. And now we can multiply. 1 times 1 is 1. 6 times 2 is 12. negative times a negative is a positive. So we end up with positive 1/12. In example D, let's rewrite negative 7 as negative 7 over 1. And now we'll convert to multiplication. We keep, change, flip. Now that it's multiplication, we can reduce. 7 and 14 have a 7 in common. 7 divided by 7 is 1. 14 divided by 7 is 2. Now we multiply. 1 times 3 is 3. 1 times 2 is 2. And then negative times a positive is a negative. And in example 6, we will do some substitutions. We have x times y. Up first, we will replace x with 3/4. Replace y with negative 8/9. And here we are multiplying. Before we multiply, let's reduce. 3 and 9 have a 3 in common. So we'll get 1 and 3. 4 and 8 have a 4 in common. So we'll get a 1 and a 2. Now multiply. 1 times 2 is 2. 1 times 3 is 3. And positive times a negative is a negative. So we end up with negative 2/3. In part B, we have x, which is negative 5/9, divided by y, which is negative 6/15. Let's go through and convert this to multiplication. We keep the first as it is, change the sign, and then we flip the second fraction. Keep, change, flip. Reduce if possible. 5 and 6 don't have anything in common, but 9 and 15 do. They have a 3 in common. So that will give us 3 and 5. And now multiply. 5 times 5 is 25. 3 times 6 is 18. And negative times a negative is a positive.